Hey, how's it going? It is Wednesday, May 20th, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. Today we'll get some coronavirus updates. The WHO has their annual meeting, and does Taiwan get the nod? And a look into business on this program from member in Australia. And lastly, a look into the Tuesday morning message. So, the question I give everyone every day is, how are you doing? It is a wonderful Wednesday. I'm just thankful for all of you joining us here on the Morning Star Drive. I want to remind everyone, keep liking, keep commenting, and I want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. Now, remember, this week's Sunday edition, I interviewed the Miss Universe contestant from Japan, Hikari, so make sure to watch that interview. And also, next week, we'll be meeting a game designer, animator, and educator, Sean Jusung McMillan. Look forward to his interview, and he's going to talk about his life, his faith, and his passions in this history. Now, let's get into today's featured artist of the day. And today's featured artist is from Japan. It is RJR, Rising Japan Radio. We're going to listen to an original single from their SoundCloud channel, and the song is called Universe. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I can't speak Japanese, I can't understand it, so I have no idea what it's talking about, but I think it's about the universe. I'm just guessing, and I'm sure it's going to be positive and inspiring, so please enjoy that song. Those of you who are Japanese members out there, please tell me what this song is about, besides it's about the universe. Cool. And the second song is from Studio 316 from Jewstar in New Zealand. This is going to be an all New Zealand collab, as Umbeat will sing the song day by day. So everyone sit back, relax, and we're going to enjoy these songs from our members.
I come here before you, Lord, with a willing heart. There's so much I want to do for you, no matter what. I want to be the bride who can say at the end of her life that even if others doubted along the way, I did not. Never once did I give up, never once did I stop, but I saw it through to the very end until I reached the top. Never once did I turn back, did my heart ever change? But my love for you, my Savior, Lord, has only grown day by day. I come here before you, Lord, with an empty heart. I'm fighting to make your word my own, no matter what. I want to be the bride who can say at the end of her life that even if others acted by their own thoughts, I did not. Never once did I give up, never once did I stop, but I saw it through to the very end until I reached the top. Never once did I turn back, did my heart ever change? But my love for you, my Savior, Lord, has only grown day by day. Day by day. Day by Never once did I give up, never once did I stop, but I saw it through to the very end until I reached the top. Never once did I turn back, did my heart ever change? But my love for you, my Savior, Lord, has only grown day by day. Day by day. Day by day. Day by day. Hey, day by
And that is Day by Day from Studio 316. And that first song, of course, we heard was from RJR, Rising Japan Radio, and that song was Universe. And make sure, those of you in Japan, just kind of tell me the gist of what that first song is about. So let's take a look at the coronavirus updates for today. In the world at the moment, we have 4.93 million cases, which means we're just closing in on 5 million pretty soon, probably by the end of this week. 321,000 deaths, and we're still looking at around 6.7, 6.8% mortality rate. In the U.S., they have 1.55 million cases with 92,000 deaths. And yes, interesting, it's down to 5.93%, which is it's down 0.02% from yesterday. Russia's at 300,000 cases, 2,800 deaths. Brazil has overtaken the UK, and they now have 257,000 cases compared to UK's 246,000. But Brazil has 17,000 deaths, and the UK has 35,000 deaths. And of course, the UK's mortality rate's at 14.1%. France is at 180,000 cases with 28,000 deaths, and they're at 15.6%. So they're still pretty high and going up. And India has crossed the 100,000 case threshold. They're at 102,000 people right now with the coronavirus. Canada at 78,000 cases, 5,800 deaths, and they're at 7.48%. And Sweden, 31,000 cases, 3,700 deaths, and they're at 12.15%. And of course, Belgium is still the highest with over 16.3%, and Mexico is still hovering over 10% in their mortality rate. And just some good news, we don't know how good it is though, but for 2 days straight, the mortality rates have been dropping, especially in the US and the UK. And even Sweden is now dropping too, which means either one of two things. It either means that there are less deaths happening in those countries, or the testing has become much, much better, and now there are more tests happening more than there are deaths that are occurring at the same time. So I hope that this helps you guys out with today's coronavirus update. Let's get now into the current news of the day. And of course, how can you have coronavirus news without China in the mix in the middle of everything? Interesting that happened is President Xi Jinping from China, he says you can now investigate their country and go into the origins of the coronavirus. Of course, it's a little bit too late after everything has already been done. 120 countries supported an independent investigation into China in this origin of the Wuhan virus. And in the 120, think about 120 countries supported this. Russia and Turkey were involved too, and these are allies of China, and they too said this is something they really want to do. And this happened just recently during the WHA, which is the World Health Assembly. China also pledged $2 million to fight the virus across the globe. Now, something else interesting really happened was Taiwan was not given an invite. But it's kind of like they were given an invite, but it wasn't a real invite. So what happened was on Friday, China reached out to Taiwan and says, hey, you guys can take part in this assembly on the condition you accept that you are part of China. And of course, Taiwan's like, there's no way we're going to, accept that condition. Why? Because it doesn't even exist in the first place. So they rejected what China offered. And basically, there was no other invitation that came in. And it's something that's kind of a really big deal right now. And I do think a lot of things are going to change. But yeah, Taiwan, basically the WHO is yielding to China again, even though there's massive lobbying from many other countries about getting Taiwan included. And the interesting thing is, it's not like actually being a real part of it. Well, they are part of it, but it's just observer status. It's not like they're a part of it as a country. It's just to observe, and they're not letting them in. And if you look at Taiwan, the reason why all these countries want Taiwan to be a part of it, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and they're the one country that showed the world how to deal with this lethal pandemic, and they're not attending. Right? They're already a month without a single case. Stunning success over there in Taiwan with the coronavirus. They're first in the world to close borders and to close borders to foreigners. Mandatory quarantines and isolations for people flying in state to state. World-renowned healthcare and medical infrastructure, mainly because 2003 they had the SARS outbreak. The country has been a mainstay of cutting-edge technology, and yet China's against it because of the one China policy. And they're basically like, hey, guess what? We should be, we're representing you because you're one of our provinces, kind of thing. But if you look at Taiwan, we talked about this before, they have their own currency, they have their own ruling government, they have status as an independent nation, but not by China. But many countries all have independent trade talks with them. The one good thing on the horizon is India is now slated to take over the executive board of WHO for the next 3 years, and India has largely, in part, honored Taiwan as an independent nation. So it's kind of interesting to see what India is going to do in the future to tackle this situation with China and Taiwan. So just publicly speaking, there's 23 countries publicly supporting Taiwan, and not publicly, in private, but they're going to vote for this. There's another 60 countries that are ready to support Taiwan. But in order for Taiwan to become part of the WHA, they need at least 100 votes. So, 60 plus votes is not enough. So Taiwan is winning friends around the world too with their role in the coronavirus. It's just that China has such a big role in a lot of people's economies in the supply chain. So they are resisting and they're telling other countries not to vote for Taiwan, even though they've never had control of Taiwan. And this one China principle is, it's something that a lot of countries, like including the U.S. The U.S. is like another world power. They don't even respect the one China principle. They don't even believe that these two countries are the same, and they treat them differently also. And even the UN too, despite Dr. Tedros from the WHO saying that the UN accepts them as separate, as a one China policy, the UN actually has no official status on Taiwan and China, so it's not even official. So regardless of what Dr. Tedros, the Director General in WHO says, it's actually not true. So it's very interesting to see what is going on at this time. So let's just take a look and see what happens. I'm sure in the future there's going to be lots of major changes, especially as India moves in and they're in very good relations with Taiwan. So we're going to try something new today. I've asked one of my friends who's in business, and he's from Melbourne, Australia. His name is Tim Dahan. I used to live with him over there in Korea, and I asked him to try a business section for this podcast. So I want to try this new business section, and I want you guys to also give feedback and questions about things that you didn't know about business, finance, budgeting, or any of these different things. And you can just put them down in the comments so Tim can look at them and also answer them for the next week. I think we're going to try it for about just once a week first, and then we'll see how it goes, okay? So we're going to go into the business report, and this is with Tim Dahan from Melbourne, Australia.
Welcome to today's finance update for the 20th of May 2020. So, what's the word on the street? Experts and hedge fund managers are saying we are entering a period of global recession. What is a recession? A lot of people start to panic when they hear this word, but the actual concept is quite simple. The National Bureau of Economic Research defines a recession as a significant decline in economic activity spread across the economy lasting more than a few months. According to the Bank of England, their analysis shows that this will be the biggest recession in 300 years for their region. So, how is the virus achieving this? It's making people stay indoors because they're worried about getting sick. Governments are closing shops and placing restrictions on people's movements. Consumer confidence is also low due to the economic outlook and the impending virus, so more people are saving their money. And this is all causing people to spend less, which reduces economic activity. An economy is made up of people and connections. When people stop spending, business activity decreases, and this also causes a reduced amount of economic growth or a contraction in economic activity. Governments usually try to keep economic growth between 2 to 3%. This is seen as a healthy growth rate. However, during a recession, this figure drops below zero and becomes negative. So, how is this all going to affect us? There will be various effects seen from this slowdown in a 2 to 5 year spread. It will be harder to get a job, new job listings will decrease. You may see shortages of some international products due to border locks. Household incomes are predicted to fall. Assets, things like stock market values or housing prices, as well as the prices of some goods, are predicted to decline. We all know about supply and demand in economics, so with decreased demand, there is a decrease in price. As well as this, there will also be broader socio-economic and societal impacts with people losing their jobs. This also has other implications for broader society. The reality is, however, there's not much we can do about it. The best thing for us to do is not worry about the economic climate specifically, but instead focus on what we can have a real impact on in our lives from week to week. Instead of worrying about a concept, we can focus our energy more diligently to fix the things that we have control over. What does the word say about times like this? It says that we should watch what we spend our money on and use wisdom with our purchases. We should be careful about separating needs and wants and buying the things that we need and buying the things that we cannot live without. If we are able to reduce our expenses, this will leave us with more money in our bank accounts and give us more flexibility over the longer term. As an example, I will talk about two people, person A and person B. Person A loves to spend. He just lost his job, but he decides to buy 2 new pairs of shoes to add to his collection. He also decides to buy a new phone. The following month, he is unable to find a job and ends up getting kicked out of his apartment because he is unable to pay the rent. This is because he spent too much money on things that he didn't need. Person B, on the other hand, is thankful for his job and makes up his mind to work even harder to impress his boss. He realizes that he may be earning less money in the future because of the virus and decides to monitor his expenses. He stops buying his daily $7 bubble cup and instead starts making tea at home. He realizes that he has enough clothing, so he tries to make new outfits with what he already has. Person B ends up emerging unscathed from the crisis and is able to go on a holiday with the savings that he has accumulated as things return to normal. The word also says we should look at what we already have. Sometimes we may want to buy something, but in actual fact, we or the people we know may already have what we need in their possession, so we can just borrow it or use what we have in our house. That's all for today. Stay positive. Wishing you a blessed and diligent rest of the week.
All right, what do you guys think of that music for the news? Yeah, it sounds like real, official, legit news, right? So that's the first business report. We're gonna try this on Wednesdays. Tell me, guys, what you guys think, and also on top of it, give Tim, give him some love, but also give him some questions of things that you might want to know about business, about finance, about investing, or even how to budget or save your money. Cool. With that new thing aside, we're gonna go straight into the praise section of the day. And today's praise section, we have 2 songs. One is "The One Following the Lord," and the second song, just a song that we haven't heard in a long time. It's going to be "Today Is That Day."
Catch someone who follows, running right next to the Lord. You would have more of a chance at stopping the sun as it sets. As the night grows and the day breaks, then the sun shines its light. When we heard heaven's great word, all our hearts came back to life. All the years we couldn't meet, how the Lord loved for us. All of us felt the same, how we long for the Lord. How can you stop those who follow? Follow the Lord in his footsteps. When the sun sets, it cannot be stopped. Would you dare try even so? Though the world and people may change, I will remain standing, with the rapture burning in my heart, living in love with the Lord in the city of gold. Can you catch someone who follows, running right next to the Lord? You would have more of a chance at stopping the sun as it sets. As the night grows and the day breaks, then the sun shines its light. When we heard heaven's great word, all our hearts came back to life. felt the same, how we long for the Lord. How can you stop those who follow? Follow the Lord in his footsteps. When the sun sets, it cannot be stopped. When you dare try, even so. Though the world and people may change, I will remain standing with the rapture burning in my heart. Living in love with the Lord in the city of gold. How can you stop those who follow? Follow the Lord in his footsteps. When the sun sets, it cannot be stopped. Would you dare try, even so? Though the world and people may change, I will remain standing with the rapture burning in my heart. Living in love with the Lord in the city of gold. Living in love with the Lord in the city of gold. Living in love with the Lord in the city of gold.
From the sunrise until sunset, such a long time waiting for him. My dear Lord is the one whom I miss. From the new moon till it becomes full, until the moon fades, I, the Lord, also waited for you. When the time comes, I will go. This I promised you we would meet. We promised this in one heart, yearning for the day to come and to the day now has come. And today you and I meet, here with God, here with the Spirit too. At last, that day has come. Would our hearts ever change? No earth could compare. Our hearts are bound to the heavens now and eternally.
And that is Today Is That Day, a very famous song that we all know, and we've been singing that for a long time at one point. And that I can barely remember the first song. That song is so emotional. That first song was The One Following the Lord. I was really happy. And then all of a sudden we went into this song. Well, it's not a sad song, but Today's That Day. We remember when we sang that almost every week because it was the tour where Sunday was going from church to church. And I remember even singing it during the time that we had an internet connection too. So wow, like I didn't know that was going to impact me like that. But yes, there you go. Today is that day. Let's get into today's word study of the day. And of course, it is Wednesday, so we're going to take a look at the Tuesday morning message. And the more and more I start to analyze the word, the more deep it gets. And I'm going to be sitting here for 30 to 40 minutes trying to explain everything that I've realized and I've kind of caught through the message. But let's try to do everything the best that we can right now. And of course, that Tuesday morning message, great message, because it's all about habits. Habits form, these small habits form, and they create, they basically create a foundation for you to fulfill your goals. Habits are what you call the essential building blocks for everyone to achieve success in every aspect of your life, from physical, mental to spiritual. But before we get into habits, I found once again, just like Sunseem in the intro is just so deep, and once again he just hits out a statement of an answer. There's no question, it's just an answer. It's kind of like what I did for the Sunday message on Monday. In the prelude, in that intro message, wow, he says it was about being diligent, of course, about this week's message, but it was another answer. And what he said was, through diligence we can realize what God gave us, and through diligence we can value what God gave us. Right? So through diligence, we can realize what we got from God, and through diligence, we can value what he gave us, right? So for me, the very first thing is man, he just answered another question. It's just that we never asked the question. It's straight up from the very beginning. The intro is so deep because it's the answer to, how do I realize what God has given me? How do I value the things that God has given me? Or you could look at it in more of a negative sense, as in, why do I lose the value of what God gives me? Or why don't I realize what God gave me? And the answer he gave straight up was diligence. Right? Through diligence, we realize what God gave us. Which answers, how do I realize what God gave me, right? Or, why don't I realize what God gave me? And the answer is, it's straight up diligence. And if you look at diligence, if you look in the dictionary, it's like a constant effort, doing your work with care, effort, and doing it conscientiously. It means that people who are diligent will eventually get their answer. If you diligently do something, you'll realize what God gave you, because you will complete what you've set out, and you will see what God gave you fully. It's almost the same thing as if God told you to dig the ground, but if you're not diligent and you're lazy, you won't dig that deep, and you'll never find what God gave you, right? Which means that it answers the question of, why can't I realize what God gave me? Because you weren't diligent and you didn't dig deep enough. But the diligent will put in the constant effort. They'll consciously, continuously do it until they dig and find that thing that God wants to give. And this is why the diligent will be the ones that find or realize what God gave them. It makes absolute sense. And this is you can make an entire lecture out of this. And of course, the second question was, why do I lose the value of what God gives me? Or how do I value the things that God has given me? And the answer, once again, is diligence. Because at first, your diligence will allow you to realize what God has given you, right? So with your diligence, you realize, whoa, God gave me this. And then with your diligence, you will also value what God gave you, right? Because you're going to realize what God gave you, and you will use it with diligence. And then the more you use it, the more you see the full measure of how valuable something truly is. It's like the Bible, right? No one's going to realize the value of the Bible until you read it constantly. No one's going to realize the value of the words, like the 30 lessons, until you read it constantly. And then you learn it constantly. Whatever it is, the more you use it, the more you realize how valuable it is. It's if you think about this, something so simple as a spoon. If you use a spoon a lot, you realize the value of it. Because once you take the spoon away, what would you have? What, you're going to use a cup? The cup can't do the same thing as a spoon. Or like a bowl, it's too big, right? People who are diligent, who use it, are far better, right? Because wouldn't you rather use a spoon than your hands? What if it's really hot soup and you need to blow on it? You can put it in your hands, burn your hands and blow on it? You can't. Cup's too big, a bowl's too big. When you, that's just the intro of the message. Straight up, you get an answer. And then it goes into habits and goes even deeper. And that's why I love this message. Yeah, it was short too. It was like 35 minutes. It's just talking. This is a message I was talking about on the Bubble Talk last Saturday too. How habits are they're a necessary tool you need to fulfill your goals. And the example I gave was waking up in the morning. If you have the habit of waking up early, those who wake up early will get more things done, right? You'll have more time to complete your goals. But those who sleep in and sleep longer, you have less time. So if you sleep less, you're more lazier, and then more time, then you'll have less time awake to do the things you need to do. You got to build good habits. And that's why that I believe it's a second proverb is like, make everything positive your habit. The moment it becomes a habit is the moment it's automatic. You don't even have to think about it. And that's the beauty of a habit. They kind of did scientific research on habits, and habits have three stages to them. The first stage is a cue. There's a cue that makes you do something automatically, makes you do your habit. So if I look at the very negative sense, it is smoking. Someone gets stressed, that's your cue to pick up a cigarette and start smoking. But the smoking part's the easy one because it's automatic. That's what a habit is, right? And then at the very end of it, there's a reward where you get a buzz. Or like if you take drugs, you get a high. So those are three parts. And if it's a high or a buzz or something that's positive for your body, your brain remembers that habit and wants to do it over and over and over again. Right? So that's why, there's addictions, because there's a cue, like you're stressed or something's happening, and then you automatically do the drugs or the alcohol or whatever it is, like some type of coping mechanism, and then you'll get a reward from it. If you're stressed, then the alcohol numbs the stress. But on the flip side, it's a good thing too. Some people, the moment they get up, the cue is to like, oh, I'm tired, I'm going to run. And then what they do is they start running. They get a runner's high, and the brain's going to remember it all the time. And that's why you have to make the positive things your habit instead of the negative. Another proverb that was really good was everything about the way you lived in the past, your daily life, makes a big difference, because you'll follow the way that you've always lived. And that's why even in the Sunday message, it talked about Lot. Why was Lot someone who took care of the strangers and invited them the angels into his home? It's because that was his daily life. He was even waiting at the front gate, waiting for people that have never been there before. Sitting at the gate. It's like he was waiting for people to host. It was his daily life. It was his habit, right? Taking action is difficult. And that's why people don't take action, because it's hard. It really is. But it becomes easy when you actually make it a habit. And that's the key message is, what are we going to, like today's Wednesday, what are you going to make a habit today? What will you make into a habit? Think about even smaller habits, like during prayer. During prayer, what's your habits, right? Do we have a habit of falling asleep? Do we have a habit of drifting off? Do we have a habit of not praying out loud? Yeah, we have all these little habits, and we'll always revert back to those things unless we consciously try to get away from it, right? Consciously really try to become people that don't fall into those habits. That's why it's such a great message. I was really, really impressed. And I'm always impressed, but it was something I was like, wow, that's so deep. And just from the, just from the intro, diligence allows you to realize what God's given you, and diligence allows you to value it. And that, for me, that thing was like mind-blowing too. So I hope you guys enjoyed that time of the word study, and that brings us into the song of choice. And today's song of choice is from 1995, super famous British rock group. One of my favorite, this album was one of my favorite albums ever. British rock group, they're called Oasis, and there's this crazy hit single. It's called Don't Look Back in Anger, and one of my favorite songs also to sing at karaoke too. And actually, I believe in 2001, when we were all in England, I believe we were on a boat together with Sunsteam singing this song. Like, everyone was singing karaoke in the boat. It was crazy. But either way, let's listen to the song from the British rock group Oasis, and the song is Don't Look Back in Anger.
She said the brains I had went to my head. Step outside, summertime's in bloom. I stand up beside the fireplace. Take that look from off your face. You ain't ever gonna burn my heart out. So Sally can wait. She knows it's too late as we're walking on by. Her soul slides away, but don't look back in anger. I heard you say. Take me to the place where you go, where nobody knows if it's not our day. But please don't put your life in the hands of a rock and roll band. We'll throw it all away. I'm gonna start a revolution from my bed. 'Cause you said the brains I had went to my head. Step outside, 'cause summertime's in bloom. Stand up beside the fireplace. Take that look from off your face. 'Cause you ain't ever gonna burn my heart out. So Sally can wait. She knows it's too late as she's walking on by. My soul slides away, but don't look back in anger. I heard you say. So Sally can wait. She knows it's too late as we're walking on by. Her soul slides away, but don't look back in anger. I heard you say. So Sally can wait. She knows it's too late as she's walking on by. My soul slides away, but don't look back in anger. Don't look back in anger. I heard you say. At least not today.
And that is Don't Look Back in Anger from Oasis. I hope you really enjoyed that song. Some of you probably brought some crazy memories because for me, this song was when I graduated high school, right? So it's 1995, 96. So for me, great memories of when I was in high school. Yeah, for some of you, I don't think you were even born at this time. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. And that brings us to one of our favorite sections is Stories from Members. Today's story comes from Japan, and it's a story from someone named Aya Stott. Okay, so Aya is a very Japanese name. Stott is not. So I'm thinking that she is half Japanese and half, maybe English or American, one of the two. So this is a story from Aya Stott in Japan. And everyone just listen to this great testimony. So I hope that everyone will be just as enthralled and moved as I am. Hi, my name is Aya Stott from Japan. I'm happy to share this unforgettable story of how God helped me and changed me to quit a bad habit. I used to be a real drinker before I was evangelized. To be honest, I drank alcohol almost every day by the time I was 4th year in university. And I even worked at a night bar. I went to every drinking party that I was invited to, unless I was ill. And I even had some bottles of wine and whiskey in my apartment. Think of it. I was this female university student drinking whiskey in my apartment alone. That was me. There was a process of how I went so deep into it. First, my close teachers and friends were all doing it. Second, I didn't know other ways to be excited. And by that time, I was brainwashed. Third, I was lost in love, lost in self-confidence. I had such a big emptiness building up through my university life. I was wanting to forget everything, and I didn't want to think deeper anymore. It's just thinking too much about life, the world, and all the issues that I had no clue to get the answers. But ironically, I couldn't even get drunk easily. And even when I got drunk, soon after I'd sober up, and I'd feel even more regretful about my life. I felt despair. It was literally hell. While I was living miserably like that, many things happened, and I ended up learning the Bible. Feeling the love of God, my mind was gradually changing to become more joyful and a happy person than I originally was. You see, I love nature, and it was amazing that God created all this beautiful nature just for me. I was desperate to find my true love, and I finally found the answer. I was so happy, never been happier before. And as I realized the love of God, my drinking habit started to fade. I hadn't heard the story of Cain's personality yet, and I didn't even know it was a sin. But because I spent more time with members, I just saw these people so happy and excited without alcohol. That was new to me. To see people having a great time without any alcohol. Really? I didn't think it was possible. No one told me to stop. But I started to feel ashamed that I was the only person drinking at the table. And it came to a moment that I felt so happy receiving all the love from God that I decided to quit. I just didn't feel like it anymore. I didn't need it. It didn't taste good either. The Holy Spirit was inspiring me unconsciously, changing my mind. Also, I even decided to break up with my boyfriend at the same time. After I quit both, everything went smoothly, and I joined the Sunday service for the first time a month and a half later. So many things changed, and I was running so hard since I met the Lord. And after 2 more months, something happened. I had this message from my sister at church that said, "Would you like to join a tour to Warmyeongdong?" And I said yes right away. Embarrassingly, I never had savings in my university days. I was terrible at saving, and I always spent all the money within that month. But because I stopped drinking and going to all those parties, I actually had savings for the first time in my life. And what's even more amazing, the cost of the tour was the exact same amount I had saved. The timing was amazing too. Because the day I went to Wonmyeongdong was exactly 3.5 months, which is a time times and half a time from the day I stopped drinking. And even more, the sermon of that week was revival. It was a huge blessing for me. And I have so many unforgettable memories there with God and the Lord. God and the Holy Spirit not only helps you to overcome the bad habits, but they even bless you unbelievably when you succeed. God is truly the God of love and forgiveness. And this is what I learned. Everything will go smoothly when you receive His love. Oh my gosh, and that is the testimony story today. Oh, it was just amazing. I'm sure some of you guys, make sure you comment to Aya, and as she's going to be listening to this too, comment. I am so moved and inspired by this testimony. It's so real, it's so raw, and it takes a lot of courage to even give a testimony like this. So Aya, thank you so much for sharing this testimony, and I know it's going to touch a lot of people's lives, and it's going to be something that will in the future become a great testimony for a lot of people who are in the same situation. Wow, that is so amazing. Thank you so much, Aya, once again. So you guys, I'm so glad and happy that you guys joined us for today's Wednesday Morning Star Drive on 117.8. I know tonight is a great night because we get the Wednesday message, and I know that everyone's really excited about that too. So everyone, have a wonderful Wednesday. Have a great service together with the Lord, and we'll see you again on Friday or Thursday. Yeah.
Believe in yourself and believe in somebody.
Gotta believe in yourself. Cause no one else will.
You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure.
You wanna make it happen? Don't ever back down from the challenge ahead.